The siren started at 3:47 inches the morning. Admiral Kim Do-hyun was sleeping in his quarters at United Earth Command when the red lights began flashing. He had been a military man for 40 years, and he had never heard this particular alarm before. It was the sound that meant the end of the world. He ran to the command center in his sleep clothes. Officers were screaming into their communicators. Screens showed satellite images of cities burning. Seoul, Lagos, Sao Paulo, Mumbai, 12 cities across 3 continents, all hit at the same time. What happened? Do-hyun demanded. A young officer turned to him with tears running down her face. They're gone, sir. The cities are gone. Do-hyun looked at the screens. Where Seoul had stood for thousands of years, there was now only a smoking crater. The Han River had turned to steam. 20 million people had lived there. Now there was nothing but ash and silence. How many? He asked. His voice was barely a whisper. We're still counting, sir. Early estimates say 2 billion dead. 2 billion. The number didn't make sense. It was too big to understand. Do-hyun had fought in 3 wars. He had seen death. But 2 billion people? That was not war. That was extinction. The attacks had come from space, energy weapons that no human technology could match. The strikes were precise, hitting population centers and military bases at the exact same moment. Whoever did this had planned it for years. They knew where humans lived, where they worked, where they gathered, and they had erased them from existence. Intelligence Officer Park Soo-min arrived at the command center within the hour. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a mind that never stopped working. She had spent her career studying alien civilizations, learning their languages and their secrets. Now she had the terrible job of finding out who had murdered 2 billion of her people. It was the Velrath Dominion, she said, after 3 days of investigation. They hired the Silent Choir to do the killing. Do-hyun knew both names. The Velroth were a merchant empire that controlled half the Orion arm. They saw other species as either customers or obstacles, and the Silent Choir was the most feared assassination guild in the galaxy. They had never failed a contract. They had never been caught. Why? Do-hyun asked. We've done nothing to them. Ar-Hiznan. 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 That's exactly why, Soo-min replied. We've done nothing yet. But humans are expanding. We're building colonies, developing new technology, making alliances. The Velrath looked at the math and decided we would be a threat in 100 years. So they decided to break us now, while we're still weak. 2 billion people, Do-hyun said. They killed 2 billion people because of math? To them, we're not people. We're numbers on a spreadsheet. Earth demanded justice from the Galactic Assembly. Ambassador Shin Yuna stood before representatives of 12 species and described the massacre. She showed them images of the dead. She played recordings of the last messages from people who knew they were about to die. She asked for the Assembly to punish the Velroth and the Silent Choir. The Assembly refused. This is an internal matter, the speaker declared. The Galactic Assembly does not interfere in conflicts between species. If humanity wishes to pursue justice, it must do so through its own means. Ambassador Yuna returned to Earth with nothing. The galaxy had turned its back on humanity. The message was clear. Humans were alone, and their lives did not matter. Rage spread across Earth like fire. People wanted revenge. They wanted to build weapons and burn the Velrath homeworld. They wanted to make the galaxy pay for ignoring their dead. But cooler heads knew the truth. Humanity's military was nothing compared to the Velrath fleet. A war would mean the end of the human species. General Han Jiho called an emergency meeting of Earth's leaders. He was an old man with white hair and a face like carved stone. He had fought in more battles than anyone alive. And he had a plan. We cannot fight a war, he said. Our ships would be destroyed before they left the solar system. Our weapons cannot scratch their armor. If we attack with our military, we lose everything. Then what do we do? Do-hyun asked. We cannot let this go unanswered. Our people will not accept that. I did not say we do nothing, Ji-ho replied. I said we cannot fight a war. But a war is not the only way to hurt your enemy. He touched a control panel, and 2 files appeared on the screen. Both were marked with the highest security classification. Both were sealed by direct order of the World Council. Do-hyun had never seen them before. What is this? He asked. These are our monsters, Ji-ho said. Every species has them. Individuals who are so dangerous, so effective at killing, that they become legends. The Velroth have their death speakers. The Silent Choir has its master assassins. And we have these 2 men. You want to send 2 men against the Velroth Dominion and the Silent Choir? Ambassador Yuna asked. That's insane. Is it? Ji-ho opened the first file. Yoon Tae-jun. Codename Baba Yaga. Former Special Operations soldier. When criminals kidnapped his daughter, he killed 147 of them in 3 days, not with guns or bombs. With knives. With his hands. With anything he could find. The criminal networks of 3 continents collapsed. They began telling stories about him. They said he was not a man. He was the thing you send to kill the Boogeyman. He opened the second file. Lee Min-jae. Born in America to Korean parents. Codename American Boogeyman. The most effective assassin ever produced by human intelligence services. He specialized in impossible targets. People protected by armies, by fortresses, by alien technology. He once killed a Velroth trade minister on his own ship. Surrounded by 3,000 guards, no one saw him enter. No one saw him leave. They just found the body. Do-hyun studied the files. The 2 men's records were almost unbelievable. Mission after mission, target after target. All successful. They were not soldiers. They were forces of nature. Where are they now? He asked. Tae-jun lives alone on a lunar colony. He's trying to forget who he is. Min-jae is in a prison on Mars. He turned himself in after a mission went wrong and civilians died. He's been there for 15 years, punishing himself. And you think these 2 men can do what our entire military cannot? Ji-ho smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I think the galaxy has forgotten what humans really are. They see us as young and soft and peaceful. They don't know our history. They don't know that we spent 100,000 years as predators, hunting everything that moved, including each other. They don't know that we are the most successful killers our planet ever produced. He looked at the faces around the table. The Velroth think they broke us. The Silent Choir thinks they are the best assassins in the galaxy. Let us remind them that humans invented assassination. Let us show them why our ancestors were afraid of the dark. The vote was unanimous. The mission was approved. Officer Park Soo-min was assigned to recruit Tae-jun. General Han would personally visit Min-jae in his cell. The galaxy had killed 2 billion humans and expected no answer. They were about to learn that humanity always answers. And when humans answer, they send their very best. They send their legends. The lunar colony was quiet. It was always quiet. That was why Yoon Tae-jun had chosen to live there. He wanted silence. He wanted to forget the sound of screaming, the smell of blood, the feeling of bones breaking under his hands. He wanted to be nobody. He lived in a small house at the edge of the colony, where the artificial lights met the endless darkness of space. He grew vegetables in a hydroponic garden. He read old books. He tried to sleep without dreaming of the things he had done. It never worked. Every night, he saw their faces. 147 of them. The criminals who had taken his daughter. He had killed them all, one by one, until there was no one left. His daughter had survived. She was grown now, with children of her own. She never visited him, She was afraid of him. Everyone was afraid of him. He was drinking tea when the ship landed outside his house. He watched through the window as a woman in a military uniform walked toward his door. She was young, maybe 30, with the look of someone who spent her life reading reports and analyzing data. Not a soldier, an intelligence officer. He opened the door before she could knock. "Go away. My name is Park Suman," she said. "I'm here on behalf of United Earth Command. I know who you are. I know why you're here." The answer is no. He started to close the door. She put her hand on it and stopped him. She was stronger than she looked. 2 billion people are dead," she said. "Don't you want to know who killed them? I know who killed them. The Velrath and their pet assassins. I also know there's nothing anyone can do about it. Go find someone else to be your weapon. There is no one else." He laughed. It was a cold, empty sound. There are billions of people on Earth. Millions of soldiers. Go pick one of them. Suman reached into her bag and pulled out a small screen. She touched it, and an image appeared. A city in ruins. Bodies in the streets. A school that had been reduced to rubble, with small shapes visible in the wreckage. "This is Busan," she said. "It was hit in the first wave." Taejun looked at the image. His face didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Busan was his hometown. He had grown up in those streets. He had gone to a school just like the one in the picture. "My parents," he said quietly. "I'm sorry. They didn't survive." He stood very still for a long moment. Suman watched him and felt afraid, not of what he might do to her, but of what she saw happening inside him. It was like watching a door open into a dark room. Something was waking up. Something that should have stayed asleep. "Who are the targets?" he asked. 12 guildmasters from the Silent Choir. 3 high counselors from the Velrath Dominion. All directly responsible for the attack. 15 people. Yes. He looked at her with eyes that had gone flat and cold. "I'll need weapons. Transportation. Intelligence on every target. Ante. You'll have everything you need. You'll also have a partner. I work alone. Not this time. The mission is too big for one person. Even for you." His jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Who?" "His name is Lee Min-jae. They call him the American Boogeyman." Taejun had heard the name. Everyone in the shadow world had heard the name. Min-jae was a ghost story. A legend that assassins told each other to prove that humans could compete with any species in the galaxy. "I thought he was dead," Taejun said. "He's in prison. He's been there for 15 years. General Han is recruiting him right now. On Mars, the prison was buried deep underground. It was the most secure facility ever built by humans. It held the worst criminals, the most dangerous minds, the people who could never be allowed to walk free. And in the deepest cell, behind doors that could survive a nuclear blast, sat Lee Min-jae. He was a small man, thin and pale from years without sunlight. He sat perfectly still on his bed, his eyes closed, his breathing slow and even. He spent most of his time like this, meditating, trying to find peace. It never came. The door opened, and General Han Ji-ho walked in. Min-jae didn't move. He had heard the footsteps coming from 100 meters away. He had known someone important was coming. Guards didn't walk like that. Only generals walked, like they owned the ground beneath their feet. "Lee Min-jae," Han said. "The American Boogeyman." "That's not my name anymore," Min-jae said without opening his eyes. "I gave that up. The galaxy doesn't care what you call yourself. They remember what you did." The Velrath trade minister, killed on his own flagship. The Silent Choir commander, poisoned at his own wedding. The targets that everyone said were impossible. You made them possible. I also killed 17 civilians in my last mission. A bomb that was supposed to hit only the target. Children died. That's why I'm here. Han sat down on the only chair in the cell. I read the report. It wasn't your fault. The target moved the meeting at the last minute. One. He used those civilians as shields because he knew you were coming. They're still dead. Yes. And now, 2 billion more are dead. Killed by the Velroth and the Silent Choir, while the galaxy watched and did nothing. Minjay opened his eyes. They were dark and quiet, like deep water. I know. I felt the prison shake when the news came through. Everyone was screaming. I just sat here and thought about those 17 civilians. I thought about how small that number suddenly seemed. I'm not going to tell you that this mission will make up for what happened. It won't. Nothing will. But I'm asking you to do what you do better than anyone alive. I'm asking you to be the weapon that Earth needs. A weapon doesn't choose its targets. A weapon just kills. Then don't be a weapon, be a surgeon. Cut out the disease and leave the healthy tissue alive. Make every death mean something. Minjay was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. How many are responsible? 15. 12 guildmasters. 3 Velrath counselors. And my partner? Yoon Tae-jun. The Baba Yaga. N. The Baba Yaga. N. Minjay almost smiled. Almost. The man who killed 147 criminals with his bare hands. I've heard. He's emotional. He's a blunt instrument. You're a scalpel. Together, you'll be unstoppable. Or we'll kill each other. That's possible. But I don't think so. You both want the same thing. You want the people who did this to pay. The difference is how you make them pay. Minjay stood up. He was shorter than Han, but somehow he seemed to fill the room. There was a stillness to him. A focus that made him feel larger than his body. I have one condition, he said. Name it. When this is over, I come back here. I serve the rest of my sentence. I don't want a pardon. I don't want to be a hero. I just want to finish what I started. Han studied him for a moment, then nodded. Agreed. He extended his hand. Minjay looked at it for a long moment, then reached out and shook it. The galaxy thinks humans are soft, Han said. They think we're young, and weak, and easy to break. They don't know what we really are. Well, what are we? Han smiled, and there was something ancient in his eyes. Something that remembered caves, and fire, and the long hunt in the dark. We're the monsters that other monsters are afraid of. 3 days later, a stealth ship called the Quiet left Earth's orbit. On board were 2 men who had tried to leave their pasts behind. 2 men who had become legends by killing. 2 men who were about to remind the galaxy why humans should never be underestimated. The hunt had begun. They met in the cargo bay of the Quiet. Tae-jun was already there when Minjay arrived, standing with his arms crossed, his body tense like a coiled spring. He looked at Minjay and saw a thin, pale man who didn't seem like much. Prison had made him soft. At least, that's what Tae-jun thought. Minjay looked at Tae-jun and saw a man burning from the inside out. There was rage in every line of his body, fury in every breath. He was a bomb waiting to explode. At least, that's what Minjay thought. You're the Boogeyman, Tae-jun said. It wasn't a question. You're the Baba Yaga. They stared at each other for a long moment. Neither offered to shake hands. I work alone, Tae-jun said. So do I. Then this is going to be a problem. Maybe. Or maybe we stay out of each other's way and get the job done. Tae-jun grunted. It might have been agreement. It might have been discussed. Minjay didn't care either way. Their handler was Lieutenant Choi Eun-ji, a woman in her late 20s with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had been chosen because she was the best tactical analyst in Earth's intelligence service. She had also been chosen because she was one of the few people who could look at both men without flinching. Our first target is Guildmaster Vorath, she said, bringing up a holographic display. He planned the logistics of the Earth attack, transportation of weapons, timing of strikes, coordination between hit teams. Without him, the attack wouldn't have been possible. The display showed a creature that looked like a cross between a spider and a snake. 8 limbs, smooth gray skin, multiple eyes that reflected light like mirrors. The Velroth were not pleasant to look at. He operates from a pleasure station in neutral space, Yunji continued. Gambling, entertainment, illegal goods. The station has diplomatic immunity, which means no police, no laws, no consequences. He thinks he's untouchable there. Where are his guards? Taejun asked. Everywhere. 50 mercenaries on rotation, plus automated defense systems. The station also has 200 civilian staff and about 1,000 guests at any time. Civilians, Minjae said quietly. Yes. That's why this has to be surgical. We kill Vorath and anyone who protects him. Everyone else walks away. Number 4. Accident? Taejun made a sound in his throat. He killed 2 billion of our people. Why should I care about 1,000 aliens who chose to work for him? Because we're not them, Minjae said. We don't kill civilians. Ever. You killed civilians. That's why you were in prison. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Minjae turned to face Taejun fully. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes went very cold. Yes, he said. I did. And I've spent 15 years living with that. Have you spent even one day living with the people you've killed? Or do you just tell yourself they all deserved it? Doesn't. Taejun stepped forward. They took my daughter. I know what they did. I read your file. 147 people, and I'm sure every single one of them was guilty. But what about the next one? And the one after that? Where does it stop? It stops when they're all dead. No. It stops when you're dead. Or when you become the thing you're hunting. They were standing very close now, close enough to fight. Unji stepped between them. Enough, she said. Her voice was calm, but it carried authority. You can kill each other after the mission. Right now, we have work to do. They backed away from each other slowly. The tension didn't disappear, but it settled into something manageable. A cold war instead of a hot one. The plan was simple. Taejun would create a distraction while Minjae infiltrated Vorath's private quarters. The distraction would be a malfunction in the station's reactor, nothing serious enough to cause real damage, but enough to trigger evacuations and pull guards away from their posts. You're giving me the boring job, Taejun said. I'm giving you the job that fits your skills, Unji replied. You're loud. He's quiet. Use what you're good at. 3 days later, they arrived at the station. It was a massive structure. All lights and noise and false luxury. Ships came and went constantly, bringing guests who wanted to enjoy pleasures that were illegal everywhere else. The perfect place for a monster to hide. Taejun went in first, dressed as a maintenance worker. He moved through the lower levels of the station, avoiding cameras, memorizing patrol patterns. When he reached the reactor room, he found it guarded by 2 mercenaries. They were big, armed, and bored. Perfect. He walked up to them and smiled. Hey, your boss wants to see you upstairs. Who are you? New guy. Maintenance. He said it was urgent. The mercenaries looked at each other. One of them shrugged. Stay here. Don't touch anything. They walked away. Taejun waited until they turned the corner, then went to work. Within minutes, he had accessed the reactor controls and set up a cascading failure that would trigger every alarm on the station. Meanwhile, Minjae had entered through a garbage disposal port. He crawled through maintenance tunnels that hadn't been cleaned in years, moving in perfect silence. His body remembered how to do this, even after 15 years of sitting in a cell. The muscles remembered. The instincts remembered. The darkness remembered him. He reached Vorath's level just as the alarm started. Red lights flashed. Announcements told everyone to evacuate. Guards ran past his hiding spot, heading for the reactor. Exactly as planned. Vorath's quarters were at the end of a long hallway, behind a door made of solid metal. 2 guards stood outside, unmoving. They weren't going anywhere. Even with the alarms, Min-jae considered his options. He could wait for Tae-jun to draw them away. He could try to sneak past them. Or, he could do what he did best. He stepped out of the shadows and walked toward them. "Stop," one guard said, raising his weapon. "This area is restricted." "I know," Min-jae said. "I'm here to see Vorath. No one sees Vorath without an appointment. He'll want to see me. Tell him the American Boogeyman is here." The guard laughed. Then he saw Min-jae's eyes. The laughter died. Before the guard could raise his weapon, Min-jae moved. It was fast. Faster than should have been possible. One strike to the throat, another to the temple. The first guard dropped. The second guard fired. But Min-jae was already inside his reach, taking the weapon away, using it to break the guard's arm. Then, his neck. 4 seconds. 2 bodies. Silence. Min-jae opened the door and stepped inside. Vorath was there, surrounded by 6 more guards. They all raised their weapons. "Wait," Vorath said. His voice was wet and gurgling, like something drowning. "I know who you are. I've heard the stories. The human ghost. The impossible assassin. Then you know why I'm here. I can offer you money. More money than your entire species has ever seen. I can offer you technology, ships, weapons. I can make you rich beyond imagination. You killed 2 billion people. Did any of them get an offer? That was business. Nothing personal. It was personal to them." The door behind Min-jae exploded inward. Tae-jun came through it like a force of nature, covered in blood, eyes wild. The guards turned toward him, and Min-jae used the distraction. He moved through them like water through rocks, striking, breaking, killing. Tae-jun did the same from the other side. In 10 seconds, all 6 guards were down. Vorath tried to run. Tae-jun caught him. He lifted the alien off the ground with one hand and slammed him against the wall. "Please," Vorath begged. "I'll tell you everything. I'll give you names, locations, plans. I'll help you destroy the others." "Plans. Problem. Start talking," Min-jae said. Vorath talked. He gave them everything. Names of the other guild masters. Security details. Connections to the Velrath Council. Min-jae recorded all of it. When Vorath was finished, he looked at them with hope in his many eyes. "Now, you'll let me go," Tae-jun smiled. It was not a kind smile. No, they left the station an hour later. Behind them, Vorath's body hung from his own ceiling. A message burned into the wall beneath him. 1 of 15. The galaxy would know what it meant. The hunt had begun, and the humans were coming. Not with armies or fleets. With something much worse. With 2 men who had nothing left to lose. With legends, word spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Guildmaster Vorath was dead, killed on his own station, surrounded by his own guards, in a place where he thought he was safe. And the killers had left a message. 1 of 15. The silent choir called an emergency meeting. They were the most feared assassins in known space. And now, they were the targets. It was unacceptable. It was impossible. And yet, Vorath was still dead. "These humans must be found and destroyed," said Guildmaster Sereth. He was older than Vorath, more powerful, more paranoid. His fortress was built into an asteroid, surrounded by minefields and automated weapons. Nothing could touch him there. "We've tried to find them," another master said. "Our best trackers have found nothing. Their ship doesn't appear on any sensors. They move like ghosts. Then we hunt ghosts. Send everyone. Offer a bounty that will make every mercenary in the galaxy take notice. These humans cannot be allowed to continue." The bounty was set at 1 billion credits per human. Alive was preferred. Dead was acceptable. On the quiet, Lieutenant Choi Eun-ji showed them the bounty notice and smiled. Congratulations. You're now the most wanted men in the galaxy. Good, Taejun said. Let them come. Min-jae was less pleased. This makes everything harder. Every station we dock at, every contact we use, they'll be tempted by that money. Then we don't dock at stations. We don't use contacts. We ghost them. 15 targets across half the galaxy. And you want to do it completely alone? We've been alone since the beginning. The galaxy made that clear when they refused to help us. Eun-ji interrupted before another argument could start. Target 2 is Guildmaster Sereth. He's fortified inside his asteroid base, which means a direct approach is impossible. We need to draw him out. He won't leave, Min-jae said. He's too smart and too scared. Then we make him more scared of staying than leaving. Taejun smiled. It was the first time he had smiled since Busan. They spent 2 weeks planning. Every detail had to be perfect. One mistake would mean death not just for them, but for the mission. 14 more targets would go unpunished if they failed here. The plan was beautiful in its simplicity. Sereth was paranoid about his security, which meant he tested it constantly. Every week, he ran drills to check for weaknesses. Taejun and Min-jae would give him a weakness to find. They infiltrated the asteroid's outer defenses using a stolen maintenance shuttle. Taejun planted a bomb in one of the secondary power stations big enough to be detected, small enough to look like an assassination attempt rather than a full attack. When Sereth's security found it, they would think the humans had tried and failed. Then, the real work began. Min-jae spent 3 days inside the asteroid's ventilation system, mapping guard rotations, identifying blind spots, learning Sereth's personal schedule. He ate nothing but protein paste. He slept in 2-hour shifts. He became part of the machinery, invisible and patient. Taejun waited outside in the quiet, monitoring communications, ready to extract Min-jae or provide support if everything went wrong. Waiting was not his strength. He paced the ship like a caged animal, checking his weapons, reviewing maps, burning with the need to act. On the 4th night, Min-jae made his move. Sereth slept in a room at the center of the asteroid, protected by 3 layers of security. Getting in was supposed to be impossible. Min-jae went through the ventilation shafts, dropped into a maintenance corridor, disabled 2 guards with a sedative gas, and bypassed the biometric locks using fingerprints he had lifted from a drinking glass. He stood over Sereth's bed, looking down at the sleeping alien. Sereth had killed hundreds of people personally. He had ordered the deaths of thousands more. He was responsible for the attack on Earth, and now he was snoring gently, dreaming whatever dreams assassins dream. Min-jae felt nothing. No rage, no satisfaction, no guilt. He had turned that part of himself off a long time ago. He was just a tool now, a function to be performed. He reached out and touched Sereth's shoulder. Sereth woke instantly, reaching for a weapon under his pillow. But Min-jae was faster. He caught Sereth's arm, twisted it, and pinned him to the bed. "Scream if you want," Min-jae said quietly. "Your guards are asleep. Your alarms are disabled. Your fortress means nothing now." Sereth's many eyes were wide with terror. "How? How did you get in?" "I walked, just like I'll walk out when this is done. What do you want? Money? Power? I can give you anything. I want you to understand something before you die. You thought humans were weak. You thought we were easy targets. You thought you could kill 2 billion of us and face no consequences. It was just business." That's what Voreth said. "We're not weak. We're not easy. We're the species that hunted everything on our planet to extinction, including each other. We invented war. We invented torture. We invented every way of killing that exists. And you woke us up." Sereth died quickly. Min-jae made sure of that. He was not cruel. He was just thorough. He left through the front door, walking past sleeping guards and disabled cameras. No one saw him. No one heard him. He was a ghost. Just like they said, 2 of 15. The next targets fell faster. Guildmaster Torek, killed in his private ship during a hyperspace jump. Counselor Dorvan, poisoned at a state dinner while surrounded by 100 witnesses. Guildmaster Veshti, shot through the eye from 2 kilometers away while giving a speech. Each kill was different. Each kill was tailored to the target. Torak was claustrophobic, so he died in a sealed room. Dorvan was a poisoner himself, so poison was poetic. Veshti thought she was untouchable, so Minjae showed her that distance meant nothing. Taejun took the loud kills, the ones that required force and fury. He tore through guards like they were made of paper. He set fires and caused explosions. He wanted the targets to see him coming. He wanted them to feel the fear that 2 billion humans had felt when the sky turned to fire. Unji watched from the quiet, coordinating, analyzing, supporting. But she also watched the 2 men, and she worried. Taejun was getting worse. The rage that drove him was growing, consuming him. He was taking risks that he didn't need to take. He was hurting people who didn't need to be hurt. During one mission, he killed 11 guild assassins who weren't on the target list because they got in his way. That was unnecessary, Unji told him afterward. They were assassins. They would have killed us if they could. That's not the point. We're supposed to be surgical. Precise. We kill the guilty and leave everyone else alone. Everyone in the guild is guilty. They're all part of the machine that killed our people. And what about the janitor who cleans their floors? The cook who makes their food? Are they guilty too? Taejun didn't answer. He just walked away. Minjae was different. He was still precise, still controlled, but something was changing inside him. Unji caught him staring at photographs of the 17 civilians who had died in his last mission. She caught him hesitating before kills, just for a moment, as if giving the target one last chance to be someone else. "Are you all right?" she asked him one night. "No," he said. "I'm exactly what they made me. A killer. A weapon. I told myself that coming back would be penance, that I would make the deaths mean something. But all I'm doing is adding to the count. You're protecting your people. You're making sure this never happens again. Am I? Or am I just feeding the cycle? We kill them, they kill us, we kill more of them. Where does it end? It ends when the people who attacked us are dead." Minjae looked at her with his quiet, dark eyes. "And then what? We go home and pretend we're normal? We forget what we did? We live with the blood on our hands?" Unji didn't have an answer for that. They continued the hunt. 7 down, 8 down, 9. The galaxy watched in horror and fascination. The Velroth Dominion was in chaos. The silent choir was falling apart. And 2 humans, just 2, were doing what entire armies could not. The news spread to Earth. People celebrated in the streets. They chanted the names: Baba Yaga, American Boogeyman. They painted murals and wrote songs. The legends were growing, but legends are not people. Legends don't feel pain or doubt or guilt. Legends don't wake up in the middle of the night, covered in sweat, seeing the faces of everyone they've killed. Taejun and Minjae were not legends. They were just men, and the hardest kill was still ahead. The last target was the hardest. High Arbiter Keth, supreme leader of the Velroth Dominion, the one who had given the final order to attack Earth. He had retreated to the Velroth throne world, surrounded by an entire fleet, protected by planetary defense systems that could destroy moons. Getting to him was not difficult. It was impossible. "We can't do this," Lieutenant Choi Unji said, looking at the tactical display. "Look at these defenses. 1,000 ships, orbital platforms, ground-to-space weapons. We'd be dead before we reached the atmosphere." "There's always a way," Taejun said. "Not this time. This isn't an asteroid base or a pleasure station. This is the capital of an interstellar empire. They've had months to prepare for us. They know we're coming. Min-jae studied the display in silence. He had been quiet for days, thinking, planning, running scenarios in his head. Now he spoke for the first time. "We don't sneak in." Taejun looked at him. "What?" "We announce ourselves. We tell them we're coming." Eunji shook her head. "That's insane. They'll mobilize everything. We'll have no chance." "We have no chance either way. But if we announce ourselves, we control the situation. We make them react to us instead of the other way around. They'll still kill us." Min-jae smiled. It was a small smile. Tired and sad. "Maybe. But they'll have to work for it." The plan took a week to develop. It was the most complex operation any of them had ever attempted. It required perfect timing, perfect coordination, and more than a little luck. If anything went wrong, they would both die. But if it worked, the galaxy would never forget. 3 days before the attack, Min-jae left the quiet in a small shuttle. He traveled to the Velroth throne world alone, using forged documents that identified him as a refugee from the outer colonies. He passed through customs, found a room in a cheap hotel, and waited. He had done this many times before. Infiltrate early. Become invisible. Let the target forget you exist. Meanwhile, Taejun prepared the quiet for its final mission. He loaded weapons, checked systems, ran combat simulations. He and Eunji barely spoke. There was nothing left to say. On the day of the attack, the quiet broadcast a message on every frequency in Velroth space. "High Arbiter Keth, for the crime of murdering 2 billion humans, you have been sentenced to death. We are coming for you. There is nowhere to hide. There is no one who can protect you. Today, you will answer for what you did." The message was signed, Baba Yaga and American Boogeyman. The Velroth fleet mobilized immediately. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier, oriented toward the threat. They had been waiting for this. They were ready. Taejun piloted the quiet straight toward the planet, broadcasting his location the entire time. He wanted them to see him coming. He wanted every eye in the system focused on him. The fleet opened fire. The quiet was fast, but it couldn't dodge everything. Shields failed. Hull breached. Warning. Alarms screamed. Taejun flew like a demon, pushing the ship beyond its limits, drawing the entire fleet toward him. "They're targeting the reactor," Eunji said, her voice strained. "We have maybe 2 minutes before we lose power." "That's enough." He pushed the ship into a steep dive, heading straight for the lead destroyer. At the last moment, he ejected in a stealth pod, and the quiet plowed into the destroyer's hangar bay. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. The Velroth celebrated. They thought they had won. The ship was destroyed. The human must be dead. But Taejun was already falling toward the planet in his pod, hidden from sensors, invisible against the burning wreckage. He landed hard in a forest outside the capital city, gathered his weapons, and began walking toward the palace. He made no effort to hide. He walked down the main road, past checkpoints and patrols, killing everyone who tried to stop him. He was the distraction, the monster they expected, the fire that drew all eyes. Inside the palace, Min-jae was already moving. He had spent 3 days mapping the building, identifying guard rotations, finding the paths that no one watched. Now he flowed through them like water, silent, invisible, unstoppable. He reached the throne room as Taejun breached the outer walls. Alarms were screaming. Guards were running toward the sound of gunfire and explosions. The palace was chaos. High Arbiter Keth sat on his throne, surrounded by his personal guard. He had activated his final defense, a personal shield, powered by technology that humans couldn't understand. Energy crackled around him like lightning. Nothing could touch him. "I knew you would come," Keth said as Min-jae stepped out of the shadows. "I've been preparing for months, studying your methods, learning your weaknesses. You're good, human, but you're not good enough to beat physics. This shield can stop anything. Bullets, blades, energy weapons, nothing can penetrate it. I know, Minya said. Then why are you here? Why not just run? You could disappear. Live out your life somewhere quiet. Why die for a mission you can't complete? Because I made a promise. Minjay reached into his pocket and pulled out a small vial. It was empty. Do you know what this is? He asked. Keth looked at the vial. His eyes narrowed. What game is this? It's not a game. This contained a compound derived from plants that only grow on Earth. It's harmless to humans. We eat it every day, but for Velrath physiology, it's a slow-acting poison. It attacks the nervous system, shuts down organ function, causes complete systemic failure. Death takes about 3 days. Painful, they tell me. Very painful. Keth's face changed. Fear crept into his eyes for the first time. I've been on your planet for 3 days, Minjay continued. I've been working in your palace kitchen. I've been preparing your food, pouring your drinks, touching everything you consume. The poison is already inside you. It's been inside you since yesterday morning. You're lying. Am I? How do you feel? High Arbiter? Any weakness? Any trembling? Any trouble? Focusing? Keth raised his hand. It was shaking. Your shield can stop anything from the outside, Minjay said. But it can't stop what's already inside. The doors burst open. Taejun came through, covered in blood, weapons in both hands. Behind him was a trail of bodies, guards who had tried to stop him and failed. He looked at Minjay, then at Keth. Is it done? It's done. Keth tried to stand. His legs wouldn't hold him. He collapsed against his throne, his shield flickering, his body failing. You can't do this, he gasped. I am the High Arbiter. I am the ruler of the Velrath Dominion. You're just humans. You're nothing. Taejun walked toward him. He stopped at the edge of the shield, close enough to see the terror in Keth's eyes. We're nothing, he repeated. You're right. We're small and weak and young. We don't have your technology or your ships or your empire. All we have is each other. And when you hurt us, when you kill our families and destroy our cities, we don't surrender. We don't negotiate. We come for you. We find you wherever you hide. And we make you pay. Keth's breathing was getting shallow. The poison was working faster now. 2 billion people, Taejun said. You killed them because you were afraid of what we might become. You should have been afraid of what we already are. Keth died with his eyes open, staring at the 2 humans who had done what empires could not. His shield flickered and died with him. Taejun and Minjay stood in silence for a moment. 15 targets. All dead. The mission was complete. What now? Taejun asked. Now we go home. They walked out of the palace together. The guards who saw them let them pass. There was something in the 2 humans' eyes that told them fighting would be pointless. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Assembly convened an emergency session. Ambassador Shin Yuna addressed the representatives. Humanity did not ask for this war, she said. We did not want vengeance. But we will not be victims. We will not be prey. The galaxy looked away when 2 billion of our people died. Now you have seen what happens when you ignore us. We are not young. We are not weak. We are the oldest killers on our world. And we protect our own. The Velrath Dominion sued for peace. Other species began seeking alliances with Earth. The message was clear. Humanity was not to be touched. Taejun returned to his lunar colony. The rage had burned out of him, leaving something quieter behind. He began working with children who had lost their parents in the attack, teaching them to be strong, teaching them when to fight and when to walk away. Minjay was offered a pardon. He refused. He asked to return to his prison cell and serve the rest of his sentence. Why? Yunji asked when she visited him. You saved billions of people. You ended a war before it could start. I killed to save them, he said. That's not the same as saving them. Unji kept a photograph on her desk. Taejun and Minjae aboard the Quiet. Not smiling, just standing together. Two men who had become legends. The galaxy had a new saying now. Do not wake the humans. Their legends are not just stories. And in the darkest corners of space, assassins and warlords spoke in whispers of the night. Earth sent death to answer for its dead. They remembered the Baba Yaga. They remembered the American Boogeyman. They remembered to never touch humanity again.